Hello, I'm Chinmay, and my video will be covering the lesser known operating systems and their features. In this video, we are going to go through the history, the design, and the user interface of some non mainstream OS and learn about their unique features as well. The operating systems we'll be looking into are Temple OS, BOS, Haiku, Solaris, React OS, Colibri OS, Tails, and Cubes OS. So let's get started. The first OS we'll be looking into is the Temple OS. Temple OS was the brainchild of Terry Davis, a brilliant but troubled programmer who believed that God spoke to him and commanded him to make a new OS, which is based on the Bible. He developed it through over 100,000 lines of code, as well as by developing a brand new language called Holy C, which is based off of C and a combination of C++ as well. The whole operating system is written in it, except for x64 assembly, which is written in the lower level languages. Perhaps unexpectedly, the same language is also used for the shell. That's right, you can execute shell commands using a C-like language and they go directly into the compiler. So there's no different language that you have to learn to while executing it. The OS had many unique features and was actually much ahead of its time when it comes to set features. There's no built-in calculator application because the shell itself is one. You can directly give in calculations into the shell. And the operating system includes an original flight simulator, a compiler, as well as a kernel. The IDE that comes with Temple OS supports several features, such as embedding images inside code. It uses a non-standard text format known as DOLDoc, which has support for hypertext links, images, and 3D meshes to be embedded into what are otherwise standard ASCII files. For example, a file can have a spinning 3D model of a tank as a comment in the source code. So as you can see, this was much ahead of its time. On the right, we can see sort of the icon for Temple OS, and on the left, we can see the shell of it. Moving on, the next OS that we are going to talk about is BOS. BOS is a now defunct multimedia operating system, which was introduced in October of 1995 for Being's B-Box computer. The driving forces behind B was Jean-Louis Gass, Apple's former VP of product development, and Steve Saccoman, the creator of Apple Newton. BOS was unique among the computer operating systems of the 90s because of a lack of legacy code. By the mid-90s, Windows, Mac OS, OS 2, Solaris, which we'll talk about later, Linux, and even NextStep were evolutionary OS with at least a decade of history. However, with BOS, B dared to create an entirely new OS from scratch to meet the needs of the era, which was multimedia and internet support. B developed BOS in conjunction with a custom dual processor PowerPC based hardware platform called BBox. First released on October 3rd, 1995, it was equipped to handle digital audio and video more adeptly than contemporary Macs and PCs. Unlike other OS of the time, BOS supported multi-threaded applications and included support for multiprocessor machines from the get-go. After an upgrade, it also included a multi-threaded 64-bit journaling file system called BFS, or the B file systems. This had a built-in database designed to support digital multimedia recording and playback, which is novel in the mid-90s. So as we can see, BOS and the company behind it, Being, they had a vision and they knew that the new era had internet support and multimedia as its forefront uh, applications, and hence they tooled BOS to help um, achieve success in the new age. The goal was to make the new OS feel lightweight and quick. Reportedly, booting took as little as 10 seconds, while still being robust enough to play several digital video files simultaneously. This was quite a breathtaking achievement in the 1990s. BOS also shipped with a web browser and had Unix-like elements, which included support for a bash command line interface, despite the fact that it wasn't Unix-based. It also supported virtual desktops for productivity, a feature that still isn't implemented at BOS levels in the modern operating system. So through the features, you can get to know that B was really very ahead of its time. Unfortunately for B, the personal computer operating system space was intensely competitive at the time. Apple, Microsoft, IBM, Next, and the desktop Linux were all vying for dominance. Like OS2, BOS lacked ample third-party application software because developers were targeting OS platforms with larger install bases first, like Mac and Windows. Ultimately, B decided to shift gears and support internet appliances instead. Today, you can download and use a functional modern descendant of the desktop BOS called Haiku. Here, we can see an early version of BOS running on a B box on the left, as well as the deskbar task manager of BOS 5 in the right. You can see that it's very similar compared to modern OSs, and this was back in the 1990s. So B was indeed a very revolutionary OS. Speaking of Haiku, let's learn about it next. Haiku is an open source operating system currently in development, specifically targeting personal computing. Haiku is a fast, efficient, simple to use, easy to learn, and yet very powerful system for computer users on all levels. Additionally, Haiku offers something that other OS platforms don't, which is the project consists of a single team writing every single thing from the kernel, the drivers, the userland services, the toolkits, and the graphics stack to the included desktop applications and preflets. While numerous OS projects are utilized in Haiku, they are integrated seamlessly. This allows Haiku to achieve a level of consistency that provides many conveniences and is truly enjoyable to both end users and developers alike. Haiku is written in C++ and provides an object-oriented API. The modular design of BOS allowed individual components of Haiku to initially be developed in teams in relative isolation, in many cases developing them as replacements for the BOS components prior to the completion of other parts of the OS. The original teams developing these components, including both servers and API, included App Interface, BFS, Game, Input Server, Kernel, Media, and so much more. As we learned in with BOS, Haiku is essentially an upgraded version of it and included many of the same features that is there in BOS. The key highlights that distinguish Haiku from other OS include specific focus on personal computing in order to make it as enjoyable as possible, custom kernel design for responsiveness, fully threaded design for great efficiency with multi-processor or core CPUs, rich object-oriented API for faster development, database-like file system, which was the B file system or BFS, with support for index metadata, unified cohesive interface. The BOS introduced progressive concepts and technologies that we believe represent the ideal means to simple and efficient personal computing. Haiku is a realization of those concepts and technologies in the form of an OS that is both open source as well as free. So here we can see the desktop of the Haiku OS. Note the simple to use AI and the user interface being very user friendly. Okay, now we're going to talk about Solaris. Solaris is a Unix-based operating system of Sun Microsystems with roots in the BSD operation system family. Up to version 3, the operating system was called Sun OS. This name was kept into the initial release information of the current Solaris version. The first version of Sun OS was published in 1982. With the version 4.0, the new product name Solaris was introduced for the Sun OS releases as of 1989. The operating system, Solaris 2.0, is based on Unix System 5 Release 4, was published in July 1992. Field of application: CAD or computer aided design applications, stable systems for databases and data center, internet server as well as internet or file server and internet clients. What are the strengths of Solaris? Solaris supports LDAP authentication and NDS. It supports automatic and dynamic reconfiguration of hardware devices. It covers various internet and intranet applications such as DNA, SendMail, IPv6, and IPsec, and it provides a high internet security. The internal structure of Solaris is quite similar to that of a building of a city, from its core, which keeps the whole facade standing, to the external part through which we interact. On one hand, we have the kernel, which is the root of the OS. This is the fundamental software of the OS. On the other hand, the exterior part we've talked about would correspond to the shell, an interpreter of orders that provides us with a user interface through which we can access the operating system. Alongside scalability and interoperability, portability is one of the greatest advantages which Solaris has. Solaris features an application binary interface, or ABI, which runs the software on any OS with an identical microprocessor architecture. All this translates to reduced cost of software developing, getting the products out in the market faster, and reducing the cost of conversion. As mentioned before, one of the strengths of Solaris is its scalability. It is capable of running on different devices independently of its pertinence to a bigger environment. That way, we can be sure that if we grow to need a more powerful system, Solaris will still be extremely functional. The graphical advantages, which are more noticeable, are the graphic libraries, of which Solaris has great graphical capabilities as XIL, XGL, and PX, the calendar manager, through which we can improve our productivity, image tool, which allows us to save and use images in more than 40 different formats, and so on and so forth. This here is an example of Solaris 10 running on a Java desktop system, and this is the desktop of Solaris. Note that this is very similar to other mainstream OSs that we use, such as Windows and Macintosh. Okay, so we come to React OS. As we all know, Windows is the most widely used OS in the world, and it has been a major hit ever since it was introduced. However, despite the vast number of functions that it runs, there has always been one major flaw with which Windows is associated. That is, Windows is not open source. Due to Windows being a proprietary software, it cannot be sold and used freely, and it prevents anyone from updating and customizing it. This is where React OS comes into the picture, as it was developed to have almost all the functions of OS while being completely open source. It has been in development since 1996, and as of October 2020, it is still considered feature incomplete alpha software, and thus recommended by the developers only for evaluation and testing purposes. However, many such Windows applications such as Adobe and OpenOffice run on it. React OS is primarily written in C. However, some other elements such as React OS's File Explorer is written in C++. This project partially implements Windows API functionality and has been ported successfully to AMD 64 processor architecture. React OS, as a part of FOSS ecosystem, reuses and collaborates with many other FOSS projects, most notably the Wine project, which presents a Windows compatibility layer for Unix-like operating systems. React OS's OS design is able to provide portability across different families of processors, such as Intel's x86, and even provides portability across different processor architectures, such as CISC and RISC. It's only one single OS core, the kernel. Porting React OS to other architectures only involves porting the hardware abstraction layer, the lowest part that talks directly with the platform hardware. It is very flexible and extensible by design. It is probably one of the most versatile operating system platforms out there, especially thanks to its NT kernel and the open source nature of it. It can be extended with the help of so-called subsystems to provide support for legacy applications on other platforms. And this is the overall overlay of React OS. This is extremely similar to Windows, with React OS being essentially an open source version of Windows. And many of the different softwares such as Mozilla and Opera and Power ISO, which does run on Windows, can also run on React OS. Okay, Colibri OS. Colibri OS is essentially a very interesting OS, with it being the smallest GUI operating system. It was forked from the Menuet OS, written completely in assembly language, and is available in two versions, 1.44 MB with essential features and 3 MB with additional features. Despite being small enough to fit in a floppy disk, it's a completely functional GUI. It only requires a few megabyte disk space and about 8 MB of RAM to run. Just imagine this. It is an entirely functional running GUI and OS that only requires 8 MB of RAM to run. This is an extremely interesting OS in that way. Colibri can be booted using a floppy disk, an optical disk, a flash drive, or a hard drive. It can read many different file systems, including FAT32, NTFS, and X34. It has applications for all basic computing tasks, such as text editor, email client, HTTP client, etc. And the fun fact about Colibri OS was it was written entirely in FASM assembly language. And this is the desktop and some of the apps available on Colibri OS. Despite it running on just a few megabytes of storage and about 8 MB of RAM, it still provides a very smooth user interface and is very functional by nature. Coming to Tails, the Amnesiac and Incognito OS. Have you ever imagined what a spy might use for their OS? Well, Tails might be the closest the general public might come to have an OS of such nature, as Tails prides itself on security and anonymity. Tails is a Linux-based distribution system based on Debian. Tails stands for the Amnesiac Incognito Live System and can be run without installation from portable mediums such as optical disks and flash drives. As it is run completely in the computer's RAMs, all files and browsing history are automatically erased once the system is turned off. Hence, it is known as an Amnesiac OS. To preserve the privacy and anonymity of the user while browsing, Tails also implements many security tools, such as the Tor anonymity network and cryptographic tools to encrypt and secure your files, email, and instant messages to protect your private information, including your identity, which is the incognito feature. Tails includes a selection of applications to work on sensitive documents and communicate securely. All the applications are ready to use and are configured with the safe defaults to prevent mistakes. Due to Tails running on just the RAM, which gets deleted upon turning off, all the files, browsing histories, and any other information that might be kept on the OS are all deleted upon turning off the system. Some of the features of Tails are Tor browser with uBlock, which is a secure browser and an ad blocker, Thunderbird for encrypted emails, KeePassXC to create and store strong passwords by randomizing alphanumeric characters, LibreOffice, which is an office suite. It is a good office suite, which is an open source version and open source as well, and OnionShare to share files over Tor, and so much more. To prevent mistakes, Tails includes the following features. Applications are blocked automatically if they're trying to connect to the internet without Tor. Everything in the persistent storage section is encrypted automatically. Tails does not write anything to the hard disk. Everything is kept to the RAM of the computer itself, and all the memory is deleted when shutting down. And this is what the accessory of Tails looks like. It looks like a very bare bone Linux OS, but it serves its functionality perfectly and to a T. And coming to the last OS on our list, which is the Qubes OS, which also known as the Security by Isolation OS. Continuing with the theme of secure OS, Qubes is the last one of our list, and it's perhaps one of the most secure ones on the market. Qubes OS is based on Xen, X-Window system, and Linux. It provides hardened security using the security by isolation approach, creating many small security domains which are implemented by lightweight virtual machines. These domains have their own set of security restrictions, isolating one domain from another and increasing the overall security between those two domains. So if you separate your browser from your sensitive work data, a hacker or malware would not be able to access your information, even if it does compromise your browser, thanks to the isolated domains and strategic compartmentalization. That's the beauty of the security implementation of Qubes OS. Qubes OS is also a free and open source OS, and it's a very security oriented one for single user desktop computing. CubesOS leverages Zen-based virtualization to create and manage isolated compartments called cubes. These cubes, which are implemented through virtual machines, as mentioned previously, have many specific purposes with a predefined set of one or more isolated applications for personal and professional projects. It has various natures, such as full-fledged or stripped down. The virtual machines often have operating systems such as Fedora, Debian, or Windows, and it has various levels of trust from complete to non-existent. All windows are displayed in a unified desktop environment with an unforgeable colored Windows borders so that different security levels are easily identifiable. Now let's come to the features of cubes. The first and prominent feature is strong isolation. It isolates different pieces of software as if they are installed on entirely separate physical machines using PV or HVM virtualization techniques. It has a template system which uses app VMs to share a root file system without sacrificing security using the very innovative template system. It has multiple operating systems within itself and can run it at the same time, such as Fedora, Debian, or Windows. It has very many disposable VMs and the ability to create it and dispose of it when the CubeSOS shuts down. It has Whonix integration, which runs Tor securely system-wide using Whonix with cubes. Device isolation. It securely handles devices through isolation of network cards and USB controllers. Split GPG. It uses split GPG to keep your private keys safe, thus increasing a layer of security. It uses U2F proxy. It operates U2F proxy to use your two-factor authentication devices without exposing your web browser to the full USB stack. And most importantly, it is open source. Users are free to copy, modify, and use CubeSOS and are often encouraged to do so. So these are a few pictures. The first one on the left is the desktop of the CubeSOS. The second one is a schema that shows how security domains exist, with it separately being work VM, shopping VM, and random VM. All the three of them are separate and they do not interfere with each other. And finally, the one on the bottom is simply the terminal of the CubeSOS. Thank you so much. I hope this video has been enjoyable and you learned something from it.